Guess I'm just impatient.
Sound muted.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Saturday night race for Panther Racing Division in the Lotus 78 at historic Spa. Looks like the boys are just starting off on their qualifying outlaps. Let's take a look down the order to see who we have today. We have a Silly Sausage, who missed Wednesday's race, and the calamity that it was. We have Toothpick Willie. We have Fiskerton, who is really going to be looking for a good placement for this race after that big crash. He's one of our top 3 drivers here for the championship, and Wednesday's race did not go exactly how he wanted it to. After him, we have Scott Mick. We have No Not Really. We have Geo Snipes, who also was not here on Wednesday. So this is going to be his first run at this track. We have Stu. Flying Spark, who came away with a P4 or P5 on Wednesday after qualifying second to last and saying that he's not going to actually run the race. So he's happy about that. We have Spiky Cactus, who also missed the Wednesday race. Mech Zero. And our Wednesday race winner, Stocky. Let's hop on board here with Stocky. See how those automatic gears are shifting. Yeah. We joke around about that a little bit here and there, but Stocky is without a doubt probably the fastest automatic gear driver there is in Project Cars. So finally got 2 hands on the wheel there, Stocky. Let's take a look at the map. And yeah, it looks like there's only one person ahead of Stocky, and somebody's actually drafting on him. Oh, really close to the wall there. I'm not sure if there was a touch. Let's see who's that behind him. That is Mech Zero behind him. So if Stocky makes any kind of error on this lap, Mech's going to get a nice draft. But let's stick it out here with Stocky on this lap, see how he does, and see what kind of first flying lap we see. Alright, as Stucky comes through. Looks like he sets a time of 3:14.0. Looks like Fiskerton was actually right in front of him. And set a 1:13.1. Mech 0 with a 13, with a 3:16, sorry. I kept saying 13. Geosnipes comes into P3. Let's see if some of these runners finish up their laps. No, not really. He's right there. Stu's going to be the next one. Spiky Cactus just went completely off-roading. That was probably some of the best off-roading I've seen in this game. Happy to catch that. Let's see where Stu places. Took pole in Wednesday. Comes across the finish line, and right now sits on pole with a 3:10.9. No, not really was next in line here. So we'll get a look at him coming across the finish line. That was an outlap. It seems Nono may have had an incident on his opening lap, and this is just his first lap. Got a couple cars here that are relatively close to each other. We'll see if there's any kind of drafting situation going on. There might be. Who do we have here? That is Geosnipes and Scottnick. That is Geosnipes and Scottnick. Let's ride along with them. This Geo gets a pretty big draft there. Heading into that dangerous right-hander. Up, they touch, and they crash. Scott is out. Geo seems to have had no damage that I can tell.
Sound resumed.
Oh, did I cause that? I didn't.
Yep.
I wasn't that. I'm sorry.
Sound muted.
And there we have it over TeamSpeak. Looks like it may have just been some latency. As Scott got completely destroyed in that corner, and Geosnipes didn't seem to feel a thing. So probably going to chalk that up to latency, since typically if there is any kind of contact, both vehicles will feel it, both drivers will be aware of it, and there won't even be a question of whether that was caused by me or something like that. It seems that on Geo's screen, Scott just crashed out for absolutely no reason. So we'll see the kind of lap that Geo's able to put in here after that incident and a little bit of drafting. Geo not being able to best his first lap time. Looks like Fiskerton has improved from a 13.1 to a 12.5, and Stocky's improved as well from a 14 to a 13.8. Looks like there was a crash right behind Scott. Not sure which car that was. Let's take a look at Silly Sausage. Spiky Cactus actually doesn't look like he's even left the pits. I think he's taking the Toothpick Willie approach from Wednesday of missing out on qualifying. Wait a minute. Oh, he's moving. He's moving, folks. There is life in that engine. I'm going to take a lap here. And we'll get back to Spiky when he's on his actual lap instead of his out lap. In the meantime, I believe Silly Sausage is coming through for his second flying lap. He's going to be looking for a little bit of improvement here. Looks like we're at really, really strange tire pressures there. It looks like there's a lot of pressure on the left-hand side of the car, and no pressure on the right-hand side of the car. It looks like and he's actually running with 101 liters. So this is his race car, not a quali car, so to speak. But it looks like he's trying to get some additional heat into the right-hand side tires, and that's probably costing him a lot of straight line speed. It's a little bit different for this game. It's about focusing more typically on your overall tire pressures and them being evenly distributed along the car, and then factoring in whether it's a extremely high speed track like we have here versus a low speed track like we'll see next week. But we'll see what kind of time Silly can put in. 3:23 was his time. Puts in at 3:24, so, and then gets destroyed by El Rouge and litters the track with car parts. Got 1 minute left in qualifying. Take a look at some of the developments here. Looks like Stu is still sitting in P1. Fiskerton going for another run. I'm not sure if... yeah, that's back to pits, so his running is done. He's going to be starting in P2, if not further back, depending on other runners. Stocky's pushing pretty hard here. It looks like he's probably on a lap, so we have to look out for Stocky over here. No, Not Really is definitely on a lap with a 3:15 over here. Let's take a look how his times in Sector 1 and 2 compared to Stocky's. Stocky's Sector 1 was a 52. No, Not Really's on this run is a 54. And we can see Stu's time over here for Sector 2. So I don't think this is going to be the one for No, Not Really. He might improve his time a little bit. Or maybe that was even his outlap. With a 3:16.0 on that last lap. But with 17 seconds, if he holds it together... nope. Cannot get another lap in. Another victim of this track. And, folks, we're seeing exactly why this track was removed from the schedule. It's extremely fast, and basically for the same reason as Hockenheim Classic sadly was removed from the race schedule for Formula One. As the cars got faster and faster, and you know, the limits were really getting pushed on those, the tracks themselves became a hazard to the drivers. So looks like we got only 2 drivers remaining. Looks like we got Mech Zero way back and Stocky. We'll see if Stocky can improve his lap time. Stocky through Sector 1 with a very quick time. Sector 2 is actually faster than Stu's Sector 2. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. He's looking to jump above either Fiskerton or Stu. He's pretty much guaranteed 3rd place on the grid, but let's see if he can make it even better. Stocky comes across the finish line, and
Sound resumed.
and I do not see him in the timing screen anymore. Did we... I've got 2 spiky cactuses on here. And I don't believe that one is the real spiky cactus. But we'll hop over to Mech Zero right now. Watch him finish off his lap. But something happened there with Stocky. May have been a disconnect or just a timing issue here. Mech Zero with a pretty quick Sector 1. An okay Sector 2. Let's see how he finishes. He's got a chance here. I mean, he's only 2/10 off of Geo Snipes. And Mech.
Another bug.
Yeah, we are.
I wasn't sure I was gonna be able to do that.
It looks like we've got some bugs here happening.
After the final time comes on, anybody that passes the finish line, their time is erased from the replay, from monitoring screen.
Yeah, I just saw that.
Wow.
Because Stocky time got erased, and I realized it then, and then it did the same thing just a while ago with Mech.
Looks like we have
Well,
some
he
issues that
qualified
are
in front of you.
gonna need to be worked out, so.
Sound muted.
We're gonna round down qualifying here. I'm not sure if this is gonna require an actual restart or if we're just going to manually alter the positions because Stocky was definitely up there in P3. I'm not sure if he jumped Fiskerton or Stu, but he knows what he ran. And Mech Zero over here was 2/10 behind Geo, and from the chatter, it sounds like he actually beat Geo Snipes in terms of qualifying time. So we're going to go ahead and yeah, actually, with the positions indicated, I have 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, and so on. So Stocky is slotting there in P3, and Mech Zero is slotting there in P5. Let's resume communicate. There we go, yes. So the display board is bugged, however, the finalized standings are not. Alright. Let's get rated up here. It looks like everybody is going to do some final adjustments on their vehicles. Ready up. And we will go ahead and start this race, hopefully without any of the video and sync issues that we experienced on Wednesday, and this can be one simultaneous video.
Microphone muted. Microphone activated.
All right.
Wow, my PSI is high as shit when they warm up the tires. Hold the brakes, guys.
There we go.
Alright, take it away, Stu. Single file, guys. We'll be going about... Oh, I
Look
stalled.
at those,
We'll be going about 100, 120 miles an hour.
let's take a look at this parade lap here.
Don't kill yourself.
Gonna sneak by here, silly. Thank you.
Some great shots of these classic Lotuses.
Like my heart still races every time we have a first lap.
I don't get that feeling anymore.
No, I'm not talking about right now. I'm talking about after we line up and it's green and my heart starts to go.
And mine does too.
You'll get there eventually, Nono, at his age.
Yeah. One day you're going to hear red, 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 green. Oh!
See, the thing with Stocky is every time he hears red, red, he's expecting somebody to say Rover.
Oh, Mac, you're swinging left to right, hitting the walls and everything.
Warming his tires.
No, he's actually like,
Trying
hitting
to.
the walls, everything, like bang,
Oh,
bang,
weird.
everything.
I see him. He's just fine. That might be you.
He appears fine on the monitor here as well.
Yeah, he's straight now.
What a great shot there of the field. Going downhill here.
Just a nice countryside drive.
Place is beautiful.
It is. It's a much faster Bannockbrae.
Without a jump.
Yes, without a jump and a bridge of death.
There's the real fans there on the right, and they're campers.
Yeah, I keep looking for a hot dog stand, but there is none.
We're lining up
Yeah.
at the concrete bit the same as Wednesday.
What's up?
On Wednesday we lined up at the concrete bit. Are we doing that again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it slows up the field before they go up Belle Rouge.
Spiky, you having a problem? You're way back.
Oh
Got
yeah.
no mic.
Uh,
Maybe he's waiting for the wreck.
He's using the team pick strategy.
Well, I'm just gonna start back here, guys. Don't mind me.
Interesting strategy. It's we typically
Alright,
don't
once we
see
go
Sound muted.
we typically don't see quite as many wrecks on the second race as we do on the first one. All of the issues have been worked out between the drivers. The track has been completely navigated several times at that point, and we have a much better understanding of the limits of the track and the vehicle. So, but just gonna look over and mention those tire pressures that we want to take a look at here. Trackside. The stiffer you go on the tire pressures, the less contact patch there is, and incidentally, that's going to mean an increased top speed. And what we should see here throughout the grid is that typically for the front runners, they're going to be running much higher pressures. Mech 0 is at 24. Sorry, that was Geo. Mech 0 here is at 27.23. No, not really is at 26.22. Stocky is at 23 and 20. Fiskerton and Stu, I believe, are close to the same, 32 and 27, and 32 and 27. So let's slot in here with P4. That should give us the best vantage point, and listen in for the race start.
Sound resumed.
All right. How's it looking back there, guys?
Yep, we're good.
Good.
Okay.
Yep.
Right.
Alright,
Red, red, red,
That's the
green.
It's like Fiskerton said that he stalled right there.
Sound muted.
We'll go ahead and mute chat for a moment. We focused in on here. That's No Not Really, who's lost a position. And Fiskerton, who stalled on the grid. This is some fantastic driving here. Let's get a chase cam view from here, just so we can see the effects of the downforce and the wash. Really having to slow down there to keep it out of the wall. Car off and back on. That white car, that looks like Stocky actually. Stocky may be having an issue there, actually. Yeah, Stocky's dropping back pretty fast. So he may be actually, he may have hit the wall. Just keep an eye here on our lead 4. Stu is way out in front. However, with as much track as there is, there's definitely a situation where just the draft from these 3 vehicles can catch him. As Mech Zero closes in. Looks like he's not quite ready to make a pass as we head through this S section. That big downhill into the right-hander. Let's see if we get any push here. And turn in. Looks like all 3, second, third, and 4th place, all put some tires onto the grass, but luckily nobody has touched a wall. I'm not sure if Mech Zero is actually out of gear at this point, or if he is intentionally choosing to hang back. That is not really in front of him. And it looks like we've had a disconnect from, that is Spiky Cactus, and somebody else actually. That was Stocky. Stocky and Spiky Cactus are out of the race. As these 4 cars battle for position here. Mech Zero runs a little bit wide. Keep it out of the grass. Oh my god. And Stu has crashed out. But that was not Stu, that was Fiskerton. And Geosnipes is also flipped over completely. We're in the woods, folks, and we have a restart. So that'll be discussed later on if he's able to limp that car into the pits. We've got a policy of no restarts on track for that specific reason. You've got other traffic coming up on you. Fiskerton's in, getting repaired. Stu did take some damage. He is in for repair, and No Not Really is currently sitting in first, with Mech Zero in P2. And Toothpick Willie, the newcomer, in P3. Looks like getting chased down by Silly Sausage. So let's ride along here. See what develops. It looked like when we had that pack of 4 running together, it really looked like everyone caught up to Stu out of nowhere. He had maybe a 3 or 4 second lead. I'm not sure if he ran it wide into a wall or not, but they caught up to him pretty quickly, much faster than you would even expect with a draft situation. Looks like Silly Sausage is just outside of drafting range. What kind of speed are we getting here? About 171, 172. Toothpick Willie is crushing it at 186 right now. Let's see where he tops out, and then we can check back on Silly. 190. And Silly Sausage is down at 183. The simplest explanation that I can have for that is probably a combination of gearing and these tire temperatures, these tire pressures that we had mentioned earlier. Those low pressures on the right-hand side of Silly Sausage's car are probably creating a greater tire patch And that tire patch is leading to increased resistance on the road, whereas a toothpick is at about 22, 23 all around. See if we have any vehicles that are pretty close together. Looks like Geosnipes is over here getting repaired after that massive wreck. He made a left-hand turn and ended up off into the woods on the left-hand side. I'm not sure if Spa is known for their berries, but it looks like Geo tried to find them all, as we see the pit crew person just get catapulted back into the pits. And that is the leader. That is No Not Really, as Geosnipes comes back on track through El Rouge. It looks like Mech Zero is actually putting some pressure on No Not Really. He's only 2 seconds back. Take a look at the speed difference. There really isn't much. There's not much speed difference. In fact, Mech Zero took that corner much better than No Not Really and has caught up to within 1.3 seconds of him. That's going to put him within drafting range. And we have a little bit of a straightaway coming up. If he can maintain that distance, he's going to get pulled in and be able to catch up to No Not Really. We might be looking at a potential victory here from Mech Zero. It didn't appear to be any arrow wash there. Let's go trackside and get some better angles. They are not that far apart. There's very little spacing between the two of them. That was taken perfectly by both drivers there. Those are the two closest drivers on track. We will definitely keep an eye on both Fiskerton here, who is currently in P5, as well as Stu, who is currently sitting in P6. They have a lot more speed than Toothpick Willie and Silly Sausage, so we'll keep an eye on those and come back to them if and when they catch up to them and are looking for an overtake. Looks like Mech Zero has dropped back a little bit, but he seems to regain a lot of time in those corners. It looks like he's not lifting nearly as much in the corners as No Not Really. I mean, he just carried 0.4 of a second through that corner on No-No. Let's keep an eye on this battle. Something may be developing here. Perhaps No Not Really has a faster car in terms of top speed, but his cornering ability might be compromised a little bit. They're back to roughly 2 seconds. But I mean, look at that exit out of the corner from Mech Zero. I mean, he just chopped off another half second to No Not Really. As they're spaced out by 1.2 seconds at the moment. Looks like we got Fiskerton catching up to Toothpick Willie as well. And Geo Snipes looks like he is back in the pits for another round of repairs here. So racing lap 5, third of the way through the race. Looks like we got No Not Really in first. Hunted by Mech Zero at the moment. Followed by Silly Sausage in third. Toothpick Willie not too far behind in fourth. Fiskerton in fifth place, hunting both Toothpick and Silly. Stu, our pole sitter, is quite a ways back in sixth place. Flying Spark is in seventh. He finished in fifth position on Wednesday. And Scott Mick is in eighth. And Geosnipe still taking that long repair. He is several minutes down on the leaders at this point. But it looks like we got a battle here. Mech Zero hunting No Not Really. I'm not sure if No Not Really has some damage or not that is impeding him. 175 to 174 miles an hour. If we take a look at the cockpit cam, Mech Zero is steady. No Not Really is steady too. We just may have some race development here. Nose to tail as we come into one of the last passing sections. Mech Zero breaks out to the inside of this upcoming corner. They go side by side through it. There it is, and Mech Zero takes the lead from No Not Really. Running in open air now. And he looks to be building a gap. We'll see how they come through El Rouge. That's one part of the course where it seemed like No Not Really actually had an advantage over Mech Zero. As we hear the car of Geosnipes getting revved up in the pits as he is finished with repairs. Mech Zero comes through El Rouge. Let us change back to No Not Really's point of view. It looks like Mech Zero is just driving away. Let's take a look at these corners. Yeah, it looks like Mech Zero just gets a tremendous drive out of all of the few braking zones and the few actual corners that need to be slowed down for. Where, I mean, he is gone. 2 seconds ahead right now. There's no danger in terms of engine temperature or fuel or anything at this point. As he just drives away. I mean, if you've been kind of following along with the series, Mech Zero's had a lot of unfortunate accidents through a bunch of the races at this point in the season. None of them really his mistakes. Just the crash on Wednesday. After the crash, cars in the middle of the track, and he comes into that blind right-hand corner at 175 miles an hour, and there's nothing that you can do. Your options are to put it into the car or put it into the wall, and either way, your race is effectively over. Just as one example, he's had 4 or 5 of those type of situations over the course of the season, and to see him running out front here in the Lotus 78 at Spa on a really fast track is really good. Looks like he's staying about 1.7 ahead of Nono getting some of that draft. Fiskerton has caught up to Silly Sausage, so let's check in on that. drafting through that section even. Zero regard for any kind of aero push. Gets sucked up behind Silly and passes him on the outside relatively easily. See if we have any kind of incident here coming into this section. You know, Silly getting the draft. Got a left-hand turn coming up as Fiskerton runs wide, takes out a couple of those markers on the side of the road. That'll allow Silly Sausage to get caught back up to him, maybe even make a move before this upcoming corner. I don't believe he's close enough to make a move. And Fiskerton runs off a little bit again. It's a draft war here. They're really close together. Coming into the last corner here. And down onto the main straight. We're going to take a look at this angle, particularly after a Rouge. See if we get any kind of draft situation going on. But I think Fiskerton may be clear of him at this point. Yeah, Fiskerton's going to be clear of him. Looks like we're out of draft range, and particularly with the difference in the tire pressures, Fiskerton's at 31 on the front and 28 on the rear. Silly Sausage, 25, 24 on the right-hand side, but that's 17 and 19 on the right-hand side. That is really going to hamper his top speed, and should see Fiskerton just walk away from him. The gap is at 3 seconds at this point. Let's take a look back on our leaders. No, not really drafting on Mech Zero, but not really getting much movement. Maybe picks up a tenth of a second. That's really not that much with as much draft as these cars produce. I mean, the draft is thrown up to 2 seconds away, but it doesn't seem like that's actually helping. No, not really here in this situation. He's at 1.5 seconds difference. And he's drafting in the speed that Mech Zero is carrying here. 167, 166. No, not really. Is 166, 165. So I'm not sure if No, not really might have some actual damage, because he is not getting pulled in through the draft. So you see a little bit of dirt fly up from Mech's tires, but it doesn't look like that much time was lost. The time gap is still 1.5 seconds. So we finish up the halfway point on lap 7 here. We have Mech Zero sitting in P1 at the halfway mark of the Spa Grand Prix at historic Spa. No, not really in second. Got a shot of these two cars going through a Rouge. Let's see if we can see some of that draft coming into play here. Because now the gap is only 1 second. It's right on board. So the draft is immense with these cars, and you will gain 5 to 10 miles an hour over the car that you are drafting. But that goes hand in hand with the aero push. So through that corner, you saw Mech Zero with a much greater exit speed, whereas No, not really had to really back off. This section right here is completely flat out. This is where we saw that big crash on Wednesday. Just a blind right-hander at max speed. No, not really starting to slowly catch up to Mech Zero. And here the section is completely flat out. We should really see that draft as Mech Zero slowly starts to lose time to No, Not Really. You can hear that engine working so hard for No, Not Really. Draft coming into play. You can hear Mech Zero's engine coming alive in the background noise. Gets right up behind him, moves to the inside. They are side by side, and they're coming up a car that is in the grass. Mech Zero slots in behind No, Not Really, touches the grass. Gotta look for that clean air. And sticks it out right behind No, Not Really. Let's get a look at his battle here from Mech's point of view. Oh, and Mech makes a move. It looks like there may have been a misshift from No, Not Really. That was definitely a misshift. You heard the car's engine rev twice, which would indicate that the gear was shifted, the throttle was reapplied, and we almost had contact there from the two drivers. Really close running. I believe this view is going to give us the best vantage point for this assault that is happening for P1. No, Not Really runs off wide a little bit, which gives Mech Zero the advantage again and makes the pass, throwing that dirty air at No, Not Really, causing him to push wide, losing the braking distance a little bit as he tries to keep it in the clean air, having to check up there just a bit as the different lines are taken through the final corner. And they're really close now. Let's see if there's some aero push here through Eau Rouge. No is backing off. He backed off hard through there. Taking zero risk, still looking for that top spot on the podium. But there was zero risk being taken from him there. We'll get back to these boys in just a moment. Again, we got Mech Zero in first. No, Not Really in second. Fiskerton has moved his way up to third position. Silly Sausage is in fourth. However, he is going to soon be assaulted by the likes of Stu. Flying Spark is sitting in sixth. So he is looking to make up one position, and he will get back to exactly where he was on Wednesday. For somebody who was going to skip this entire series, he's really, I mean, a fifth and a sixth place is pretty solid. Scott Mick looks like he is in the pit box with repairs. And Geosnipes looks like he's parking it. Yeah, he's got the front runners coming up on him as No, Not Really and Mech Zero change positions again, so that is a excellent job by Geosnipes to back off there. We'll ride along here with No, Not Really until there's another position change. This is an excellent battle. There's that aero push. You hear him lifting. You hear that engine going almost silent as the wash plays out through that corner. And then here we are drafting again, and that all that time, I mean, that's a second down, is made up within a matter of 10 seconds. Sucks right back onto Mech Zero's bumper. Trying to get close to him and maybe close enough to make a pass attempt before the next corner. Going side by side. Getting a little bit of side draft. Next corner is only about a couple hundred meters away. Here it is. And yes, Mech Zero is slotting into P2. Oh no! No, 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 no! Keep it together! No! Oh. Brutal. Brutal arrow push. Just destroyed Mech Zero's chances of a P1 and possibly even a P2 with Fiskerton closing in behind and Stu maybe 50 seconds behind him. Keep it together. You're not too far away from the pits. You need this position. We had a DNF on Wednesday from Mech Zero, so he's gonna hear Fiskerton coming up. Just keep it together. You need a position here. You were fighting excellently with No-No. Got caught out by a little bit of arrow. And coming in for repairs now. Not sure how long the repair is going to take. The key thing here is going to be the repairs for the engine. If those were enabled, he is going to spend an additional minute roughly in the pits. If they are disabled and disregarded, as we see him get some new tires, if the engine repairs were disregarded, and it may have been, still sitting in 4th. Stu has gotten by Silly Sausage in 5th place, coming up on Mech Zero at this moment. And Silly Sausage is into the pits. Not sure if his tires are worn or whether he sustained some damage, but Silly Sausage is into the pits. Flying Spark not too far away from them. He has some opportunity here to make up those two positions. And Mech Zero is out of the pits. Looks like he is going to hold on to P4. Just needs to keep it together here. He needs a position. We had a DNF from him on Wednesday, somewhere around a 9th or a 10th place finish. So 4th is a significant improvement, but it just really hurts. He had an opportunity to have a win here, and I'm not even certain if Mech Zero has had a victory here with PRD yet. I apologize for my lack of being able to tell that, but if he has not had a victory, this was his greatest opportunity at a win here. Particularly once we've moved away from the 2 race per night with reverse grid format. With that type of format, with a reverse grid, anything can happen in that second race. You could have somebody that finished 2nd or even 3rd to last come out with a victory when all the typical fast runners and the quick guys are unable to make their way through the field or end up with some kind of incident. But that was a really good run there for Mech Zero for about 10 laps, and is going to come up just short with 4 laps to go. We jump back in with No Not Really, who is starting lap 11 in 1st place. Fiskerton just about to round off the last corner of the track in P2, and he is gaining some significant amount of time to No Not Really. If we look at the timings, No Not Really is running with a damaged vehicle. That's my only assumption, because his last lap was a 3-minute 22nd, whereas Fiskerton's last lap as he crosses the line is a 3:15. We have 4 full laps to go, and Fiskerton's running 5 seconds a lap faster with a 24-second gap. That's easily achievable. We could see some fireworks here headed toward the finish. Stu crosses the line with a 3:15 as well, so he's running a similar time to Fiskerton, but with a 43-second gap. Not sure he can catch up to either Fiskerton or No Not Really unless something else goes horribly wrong here for them. And that will mean that this will be the first week since the start of the season in our 2 race per week format that Stu has not taken a first place. It will eliminate him from maximum points contention and will really shuffle up the fight for the championship, as Stu, Fiskerton, and No Not Really are all within only a few points of each other as we head toward the last race of the season. Looks like we've had another retirement. I'm not sure who retired, however. It looks like it may have been Stocky. Or Stocky retired earlier. But looking here through, we've got No Not Really, Fiskerton, and Stu, followed by Mech Zero in 4th. Flying Spark has moved up to 5th position, as we have a car on the sidelines with an injury, and that is Geosnipes, who has already spent a significant amount of time in the pits, and his car is stopped. There's a possibility that he's okay. So he lets a car that was lapping him get by. That engine temperature continuing to increase as you use that car with no wheels. You may be able to get back to the pits in terms of what the car's capabilities are, but that engine temperature is really important to monitor. You really want to keep it in a higher gear and with minimal throttle input, because as that temperature rises, the engine damage, and we see another car lapping him here. Engine temperature drops down a little bit, so he should be able to make it back to the pits, get some repair, but we are 17 minutes back down on the leaders. He is running lap 6, whereas the race is finishing up lap 12. That was No Not Really that just passed him. So we will get back to that. It looks like Flying Spark and Silly Sausage may end up having a little bit of a battle here. Silly Sausage is not too far back from Flying Spark, roughly 20 seconds with 3 full race laps to go. And in terms of lap times, Silly Sausage had a pit repair, so that's what dropped Silly Sausage back. In terms of lap time, Silly is lapping about 3 seconds a lap faster. With 3 laps to go and a 20-second gap, that's not an incredible amount to overcome, but it's possible. We see a bunch of 314s come in right now from No Not Really, Stu, Mech Zero, and Fiskerton is out. Fiskerton, the race leader, has crashed out.
Sound resumed.
I
User disconnected from your channel.
apologize. He did not crash out. It sounds like a disconnect. It sounds like an issue in terms of connection.
Microphone muted. Sound muted.
But No Not Really has had first place completely secure and was under assault from Fiskerton, and Fiskerton just dropped off. I'm not sure whether that was a crash out and a frustration disconnect, which would be completely warranted having not finished on Wednesday, and then hunting down P1 with a crash out, or whether that was a disconnect due to an internet issue. But we've only got 6 cars remaining. Again, No Not Really back to running 314, so it doesn't look like he was damaged actually. It looks like he was actually, no, I'm sorry. His last lap was a 320, so he's been consistent at 320, but he's definitely damaged. He's been running an injured vehicle. Stu, running in P2. Mech Zero, running in P3 now that Fiskerton is out, so he is looking at a podium. It's not the podium position that he had desired. However, it is a podium position nonetheless. And Flying Spark, who finished in P5 on Wednesday, is looking at a P4 if he can keep everything together. Silly Sausage seems to have had a little bit of an incident. Not sure whether it was a spin-off or whether it was... It looks like he's going to keep going. Silly Sausage putting in a 3:39, so I believe he had an off without a injury to his vehicle. We can check on that by looking in, seeing if the wheel is canted a little bit, and in fact it looks like it is. That wheel turned to about 1 o'clock would indicate that there was some definitely wall contact from Silly Sausage. As he almost touches the wall there again. So he's just trying to keep this race together, trying to score some points, trying to finish. He has 5th place almost entirely secured, as Geosnipes is a full 5 laps down on the rest of the field. Again, keep in mind, even if there was a crash out from Fiskerton, Geosnipes is a full 20 seconds down, or 20 minutes down on the field. So Fiskerton, if it was an incident, considering he didn't even finish on Wednesday, he could have gone into the pits, taken a repair, and being that he was ahead of Stu and closing in on No Not Really with about a 15-second gap, even if he was in the pits for 2 minutes, call it even 3 minutes, he probably could have slotted into P4, 5, maybe even 3 with some luck, but not to be. We're going to go ahead and take a lap with No Not Really as he passes some back markers here, and ride along with him for the next minute until he finishes this lap. right. Sorry about that delay as we look in here on No Not Really completing the final lap of the race. And coming in for a victory in P1. Mech Zero, it looks like Stu may have crashed out as we're seeing that persistent glitch here on the timing screen for the finishing positions in the monitor. Stu may have crashed out. I do not see him on the grid. We had Flying Spark, Mech Zero, Geosnipes, No Not Really, and Silly Sausage, if I'm not mistaken. So Stu, I believe, crashed out or ended up with an unfortunate disconnect. We will ride along here with Mech Zero, who, after a pit repair and some incidents from other drivers, is looking at a P2. Got 60 seconds left in the race session. So I believe Mecha Zero and Flying Spark would be the last two to actually finish this race on the lead lap. And Mech Zero comes through the finish line for a P2. Flying Spark looks like he just might squeeze in another lap. He must have just gotten taken by No Not Really at the conclusion of that previous lap. Looking to finish here on the lead lap as well. 6 seconds. I believe he'll be borderline on whether he actually finished on the lead lap or not, but there we have our actual finishing position. No Not Really, followed by Mech Zero and Flying Spark with a podium in P3. Stu looks like he crashed out and retired after 13 laps.
Sound resumed.
I got lapped like 6 times.
I saw you on the board. You were like minus 20 minutes.
Oh my god, I was not.
I don't know how
literally
you made it
tired.
back to the pitch, you.
Yeah, how did your
Man,
engine not blow up?
It wasn't that bad. It was just really suspension damage until the last